Hello everyone, and welcome to another educational session. Today's topic is going to be on trade signals and how to read the charts and use the levels that we are forecasting. So on the website, you'll go to, and this was discussed a little bit before in the previous lesson, you'll go over to trade signals here on the menu on the left hand side and click the drop down menu, and you'll see every single day of the week here from Monday to Friday. Obviously, Sunday and Monday are an option because the Forex markets close Friday afternoon and reopen again on Monday. So what you want to do is you want to find all of your signals in this area. And typically what we try and do is upload the signals the day before. So what I mean by that is we'll put pending orders in. For this example here that I've got, this is a US CAD order that we've put in, and we've got a pending order in here. I'll talk about the chart here and all the levels in just a minute. But this would be sent out as a signal the day before. So if it's, for example, a Wednesday, this signal would be going out for the Thursday. So you would want to come into the signal section, click on Thursday's signals, and then you'd see all the information about the US CAD trade that we have posted. And on the top here, you'll see when it was updated last, the day it was updated, and then you'll go through and get all the information. You get your, in this case, it's a long entry. If it was a short entry, you would have similar information, except it would be in this. You'd see the red here for a short, green for long, red for short, fairly simple. And then you'd have the current entry level. In this case, it is 1.2800. The next level you see here is your take profit. So where do you want to set your take profit level at, or where do you want to look to collapse the trade after the trade goes into profit? And in this case, it's 1.2920. And then your stop loss. Every single trade you need to have both a take profit and a stop loss. These are very, very important. You don't want to be caught in a trade without a stop loss on, and the trade goes against you all of a sudden. You know, maybe it's a news event or something, a black swan event, and the trade all of a sudden, you know, drops 100 pips against your entry, and now you're sitting in a huge negative position. So you don't want that. So you always want to trade with a stop loss. Now the stop losses that we typically like to use are about 30 pips, give or take. Sometimes it's a little bit less if we think there could be some room for the trade to go against you quickly, and if it's in the wrong direction, then we'll use a shorter stop loss of maybe 20 pips. But if we think there's a little bit more margin, room for error for the trade to potentially drop down and then go into the direction of choice, the directional bias, then we may increase it a little bit. In any case, it's about 30 pips typically. In this instance, in this trade instance, it's actually 40 pips. So right here in this section, it just says here, this is just an example. This is where you're going to see the analyst comments on things like exactly what I just mentioned about your stop loss, your take profit. Sometimes there's multiple target areas, and I'll discuss that here in a second. But this is basically just a simple one or two sentences on what the analyst is going to comment on the trade, when it should trigger in, some news events to correspond with it, things of that nature. And then you come down to the signal chart. Oops, the signal chart right here. So this is a screenshot of the entry that we, or annotation of what we think is going to happen. So if you click on that, a pop-up window will come up and you'll see the trade details in detail. So over here, you've got your take profit, your entry, in this case it's a long, and your stop loss. And just so you know, everything that we send out, all the signals, if you do see charts like this with positions taken, it's always going to be on a demo account. There won't be any live funds traded on our end. And so you don't need to worry about the size or anything like that. This is all just dependent. This is a $5,000 demo account, so we're doing half a lot. It could be 0.01, it could be 1 mini, it could be 1 lot. It is whatever it is. This number really doesn't attribute anything to the position size or anything like that in terms of if it's more favorable or not in the outcome. We're always going to keep it at about a standard half a lot. Now, the signal itself, what you'll always see on every signal is a simple entry level, which is right here. In this case, it's a buy. If it were a sell signal, it would say sell on here, and then over here it would be a sell limit. We've got our stop, which I discussed earlier, a 40 pip stop at 1.2760, and then we have our target area. Now, the target, sometimes we will have two target areas. It'll say target 1, and if you go a little bit higher, it'll say target 2. These are for instances if we think there could be potential for a very large range, or if we're going to hold over a couple of days, or for the weekly range. We want to definitely take some profits off the table at target 1 and then leave a small portion remaining for target 2. In this example, there's only one target area, so you don't need to worry about that yet. But when those charts do come up, we will specify that for the specific trade. We will also go through how to set up buy level, buy limit entries, sell limit entries, how to buy and sell at market, and how to set your take profit, how to set your stop loss levels, how to take partial profits, how to close trades, do partial closes if the signal is going against you and you want to take some of the risk off the table. You can close a portion of the trade without having to close the entire trade down. Numerous different features that we'll show you in another video on how to set all those up. But this basic video is just wanted to make sure everyone understands what the levels are, what they all mean, and all of the levels that we're going off of. So typically, again, like I said, you want to go in and you want to check the signal section the day before. We'll upload all of them before 12 a.m. New York, 12 a.m. New York time, the day before the signal goes out, or before the day the signal is actually supposed to trigger. And we will update everybody through Instagram on that. So make sure you turn your post notifications on. If you don't know how to go about doing that, please see this video here on this one here, how to use this website, and that'll explain in detail on how to turn on post notifications for your Instagram so you can get the signals when they are updated. You can also regularly come back to the website and click on signal updates, and you'll see a brief update in here as to what has been done with the signal. Or you can just navigate right to the signal directly, and oftentimes our analysts will add additional comments right in this area too as the trade triggers, and some take profit levels and the likes. Now, the one thing that I want to make sure that you understand is when you're going in here and putting your trade signals on, it is always very, very important, and we'll remind you every single time to make sure you take profits at 30 pips. You never know what can happen with the market, and so it's always best just to take a little bit of profit to make sure that you have something in your pocket at 30 pips. From there, then you move your stop up to the break-even level, and we can then go about riding the rest of the trade risk-free. And that's a very, very important part of trading to stay profitable, because again, you never know what the markets can do. Also, sometimes there are opportunities to get in at certain levels that are more aggressive. For instance, this trade here that I have set up, we're hoping price is going to come down into the buy level and then rebound off of there. Sometimes price may not want to come down all that far. Sometimes price maybe will miss the entry level, let's say to 1.2820, and then go up from there. What you can do is you can take an aggressive entry at levels higher than the buy level in anticipation of that if the market doesn't get a deep retracement. And sometimes, again, we don't know exactly where price is going to reverse, but maybe it could come down a little bit deeper than the buy entry at 12800. It could come down to 12780 and then start to go in the correct direction from there. We never know for 100% certainty. So when we don't know, we will post a note saying you can go in aggressively and get the entry from this level, certain level, or not. So we'll let you know as that transpires from trade to trade, but it's very important to make sure you stay on top of the different trades that are out there and constantly monitor them and watch your Instagram for updates. Eventually, again, we will have SMS updates for that reason, so you get instant updates right to your phone, and then you know that there's been something done to the website. Now, the one thing that we do try to trade off of is news events, so you got to be very, very cognizant of this. So I'm just going to flip over here real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Markets are driven by news and sentiment and a lot of fundamentals sometimes. So we want to make sure that we're keeping our eye on what the latest news is coming out. There are unfavorable times in the market when you do not want to be trading, and those typically revolve around FOMC events, which are the first week of the month, of every single month, and high impact news events. For example, like this GBP news event here, Bank of England, Government Carney is speaking, things like that, monetary policy statements, interest rate changes, major news events like that can take markets into wild swings, and you do not want to be stuck on the wrong side of the market when it does something like that. So again, another reason that's very important to trade with a stop loss as well. But we typically trade with these news events, which is why we like to have all of our signals out the day before in anticipation of these news events. Sometimes, in certain cases, if it's a large news event or a high impact news event, we will send out a signal directly after that news event in order to capture the ride up or down from that fundamental news driver. So we'll update you again if there is a specific signal on that. We'll let you know in the news section, just to watch the signal sections after the news comes out. We will be putting a signal out so you know when to check back. So that's pretty much how we use news events, and then I'll just flip over real quick to a price chart. In another video coming soon, we will identify exactly how to place orders in your system, how to put instant execution, pending orders, stop loss, take profits, partial profits, partial covering, and the like, so you know exactly how to do all your entries and modifications to it. So that pretty much wraps up everything that I have so far on the topic of our signals. I believe if you have anything else other than what I have mentioned here that you're not clear on, make sure you send us an email at f45trading@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to upload another video for you to explain in detail whatever we may have missed here. Thank you very much for tuning into this session, and please stay tuned for the next reporting coming out very soon. Thank you.